And now it's time to get you ready for the match with the Phoenix Rising pregame warm-up on the Phoenix Rising Radio Network.
On the first Saturday in October, Phoenix Rising ventures ever closer to the playoff picture as it starts to find its clarity in the USL Championship's Western Conference road. As Phoenix Rising, with just 4 games to go in the USL Championship season, commences its penultimate home game this evening against New Mexico United here on the Phoenix Rising Radio Network. Phoenix hosting New Mexico United. Ryan Sakura alongside Ronan Haycoop. Reese Goodall will join us in a moment. Ronan, it's a chance for Phoenix to right some wrongs they've had over the last couple of weekends.
Yeah, it's been unfortunate for Phoenix Rising. It's been a consistent, stretch of form, but not consistent in the best ways. Coming away with 3 points is what you want at the end of the day when you step between the white lines for Phoenix Rising. And, Ryan, it's going to be a great night, like you said, to make it happen. A rivalry game, chance to make a statement. We know how these fan bases feel about each other, how these players feel about each other. It just adds that extra 6th gear to this game. And for Rising, a team that's coming down in the home stretch, still not secure in their playoff seeding, and if they're going to be able to make it into the postseason. So a lot of stuff going on for Rising, but not a better night to do it.
Tonight against New Mexico United, Ronan. Next week, though, it's North Carolina FC on a Friday night on the road, then San Antonio at home before you end the season on a flying Pittsburgh Riverhounds team. No side in the USL Championship faces a tougher road race to the playoffs than this Phoenix team the rest of the way.
Yeah, I'll tell you, over there in North Carolina on Friday night is not going to be a fun environment to play in. It's going to be hostile up there. But for Phoenix Rising, it just comes down to finding that culture that they've been looking for, the culture that has been there prior, whether you cite back to last season, earlier in the season, wherever. They need to find that run. They need to find that momentum. And for a team that has a lot of players that are, we'll talk about it later, but are out of the lineup in different positions, it's going to be uncomfortable in that first 45 for Phoenix Rising. They're going to need to find that character and that resolve in order to find a result here from 38th and Washington.
Well, why don't we get to the lineups here this evening? We'll start with the home team, Phoenix Rising, who have a bit of an illness going through the camp. We'll hear from Reese Goodall a little bit later on that one. For Phoenix Rising, Patrick Rakowski keeps his place in goal. The back 4 is Colin Smith, Potmore Boy, who captains the side. Rafa Shihos returns to the starting 11 after a couple of games out of it. Asel Asenge, at least by our math, is going to be the left back tonight against New Mexico United. A midfield 3 that's very workmanlike. Jean-Eric Morsu, JP Skiers, and Carl Saint. The front 3, Charlie Dennis, Isan Sacco, and Remy Cabral. JP Skiers signed a contract last week. He's going to have to do a little bit more with the ball at his feet tonight with that midfield around him.
Yeah, and at the midweek presser, he talked about, being vocal and being that leader. We've seen him wear the armband this season for Rising. He's always said he leads by example. He needs to find that voice at the 6th role tonight, especially, like you said, Ryan, with a workman style midfield 3. It's going to be difficult for them to really move forward and progress and turn the game in transition, and JP Skiers being that vocal force and, of course, being that tough opposition on the defensive end will be so key.
Phoenix Rising 7th in the Western Conference entering this weekend. 7-7-12 have drawn 5 consecutive games. That's a club record. The visitors this evening, New Mexico United, 3rd in the Western Conference, on good form, having taken 6 points from 6 last week. Chris Shakes keeps his place in goal. Jalen Lindsay and Chris Gloucester are the fullbacks. Talon Maples, and we believe it will be Will Seymour as the center backs tonight for New Mexico United. Zico Bailey, Marlon Vargas, Gideon Zalalem, the midfield trio, Macaulay Akale, Dayon Harris, and Greg Hurst, the former Rising striker, starts up top for Dennis Sanchez's 12, 10, and 4 New Mexico United. Only 1 goal in all of September, Ronan, for your player to watch, Greg Hurst, but he does the intangible things.
Exactly. He's just an old-fashioned striker, Ryan Sakura, and what I mean by that is he's going to get into midfield. If he's not getting the ball in spaces he wants up top, he's going to go ahead and do it himself, take some strain off, rather, from that midfield 3 and really get heavily involved in the build-up, as well as being able to turn his back on goal, run at guys, and just be a menace in that 18-yard box. It's going to be tough for Rising, especially with all the injuries and the illnesses and everything that's going on in this lineup. That communication factor is going to be so huge to keep a guy who's going to be in unorthodox spaces at times to be able to, for Rising to keep him at bay and not let him turn and have space in on goal.
Ronan, thanks. We bring in Reese Goodall now down on the touchline. Reese, we just showed everybody the unorthodox Phoenix Rising starting 11. That's because the normal absences are there for Phoenix, but there's also a bit of an illness bug going through the camp.
Yeah, and Gian Emmers, who would normally thrive in a midfield like this in that 8 role, especially after what happened in Noble Okello last week, usually would be in there. He's not in there tonight. Hope Aveyevu, one of the best players on this team, not just in the midfield, as a creator, as a scorer. He's not in the starting 11 tonight. He is off the bench, so he does have a chance to feature. But those 2 players are really the key losses from this bout with illness for Rising.
Everybody else pretty much the guys that have been out for the last couple of weeks, yes?
Exactly right. Damian Rivera, Mo Traore, Kelvin Arase, Emil Cuejo, they're all still out for Rising tonight.
And for Phoenix, we just mentioned it, 5 consecutive draws. That's a club record. The league record is 6 straight. The last couple weeks, I don't think results have come the way Rising would have wanted, Reese.
I agree with that to an extent, but 6 of the last 7 games Rising have drawn. The first half of those 6 draws, the first 3, were good draws, or bad draws rather, in terms of their opportunities missed. The second half, they feel like good draws given the fact that they come back from 2-goal leads twice and a 3-goal deficit against Oakland the last time out.
Yeah, Pamadou Ka, I don't think has shared that sentiment though with you as well. I will say this, the last couple weeks you mentioned Phoenix not being able to start that strongly. Probably the best game Phoenix has played this year, at least from a start, was the reverse fixture in the championship against this New Mexico United team on the road at Isotopes Park in Albuquerque, Reese.
That wasn't just one of Rising's best starts this season. That was one of Rising's best games this season in terms of going out there from the second the game kicked off to the second the final whistle was blown, in terms of executing a game plan. Rising knew in that game they weren't going to be able to hold possession and create as many chances as they normally would, so they only had 30% of the ball in that game and took advantage of the chances they did and were able to walk out with a 2-1 victory in that one.
All right, Reese, thank you so much. We'll hear from Reese Goodall throughout the night down on the touchline at 38th and Washington here on KDUS AM 1060. Ronan, before we step aside here in this pregame warm-up, your thoughts on that? Having the opportunity tonight for Phoenix to execute a game plan amidst all the lineup crises.
It's imperative to have that professionalism that this team has been searching for. Coach talked about it. After the results of the last few weeks, some people don't show up being professional footballers is basically what he alluded to. And for Rising, showing up not just in that first 5, not just that first 15, 45, whatever, it's through the whole 90. You have to do what Reese says. You have to execute. You have to be consistent in what you are trying to do while also having some diversity. And that's been the real issue. And that's why I'm interested to see, without Hope on the field, is at least to start, how that is going to differentiate, because he is such a huge part of that playmaking ability and how Rising's able to progress in transition. So for Rising, if they can come away and execute in this game, it should be a confidence thing of, hey, we can execute anywhere.
Stick around. We'll get Ronan's thoughts on the midfield and all the configurations of that Phoenix Rising lineup later on in this pregame warm-up show. Next, though, we've got Charlie Dennis on the way to the Northwest Corner to talk to us about his recent form, the reigning USL Championship Player of the Week. That's all here on the Phoenix Rising Radio Network. You're listening to Rising Radio, home of the 2023 USL Champions.
Bliss and a burst of red smoke. Phoenix Rising, our home. Welcome to 38th and Washington.
Stick around for more as our broadcast continues.
Join in on the Sports Zoo on your ride home from work with Dave Rooster Bierstein. Join Rooster as he lays down what's happening around sports and makes it clear what's on his mind.
Oh my.
Catch the day's craziest stories and some of the latest numbers from the sports books across the valley. The Sports Zoo with Dave Rooster Bierstein.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a wild option.
Weekdays 5 to 6 p.m. on KDUS AM 1060 and on the KDUS 1060 app. Attention all clones. The Jim Rome Show is here for you every day here on KDUS AM 1060.
Lots to get done. Welcome to the program.
Listen in as Rome dives into the biggest sports headlines of the day. From final scores, player contracts and trades, team prospects, and even a spicy take or two. The Jim Rome Show, 1 to 4 p.m. every weekday here on KDUS AM 1060.
That's the trick.
Online at KDUS1060.com and on the KDUS 1060 app. James Out West, your home for sports down here in the desert. Join James and Pat the Stat Guy as they recap the weekend and dive deep into the numbers for the NFL, NBA, college sports, and more.
That's 5 seasons of 1,200 yards.
Player stats, team numbers, and contracts are just the start of the discussion for James and Pat.
He started 815 career games. He threw 749 complete games.
There's no hiding when it comes to stats. It's James Out West every Monday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on KDUS AM 1060 and on the KDUS 1060 app. Each day at work just dragging on. Get your sports fix on the lunch break. Join Chris Schubert and producer Evan live as they give their local perspective on the world of sports. Baseball, football, and basketball. Everything has a home on their plate. It's The Lunch Break with Chris Schubert, live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on KDUS AM 1060, on the KDUS 1060 app, and KDUS 1060 on YouTube.
Buying a house can seem almost impossible, especially today. But with the right agent in your corner, it makes the challenge seem effortless. Hi, I'm Connor Cochran with Good Oak Real Estate, your go-to agent in the Valley. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Because finding the perfect home shouldn't be stressful, it should be exciting. Call 480-688-3200 today. Again, that's 480-688-3200. Let's have the conversation.
Hey Phoenix Rising fans, this is Discount Tire, your hometown tire retailer and trusted partner on the road for over 65 years. We know it can be overwhelming when buying tires, but we're here to help. Our online tire buying guide, Treadwell, makes finding the right tires simple. Just plug in your vehicle, location, and driving habits, and Treadwell will give you unbiased, personalized recommendations based on your needs, not based on price. Inviting, easy, and safe. Just how tire buying should be. Shop tires with Treadwell at discounttire.com. Let's get you taken care of.
And now it's time to get you ready for the match with the Phoenix Rising pregame warm-up on the Phoenix Rising Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Rising Radio pregame pickup. Joined by the reigning USL Championship Player of the Week, Charlie Dennis. Charlie, a good week for you last year on the individual front. You scored the goals. You're a big part of Phoenix for another week in a row. Can you talk about the form that you've been on as a player over the last maybe month or so?
Yeah, obviously, good weekend for me personally, so it's always nice to get on the score sheet and help the team get a point. So yeah, just looking forward now and use that as more motivation. Now's not the time to take my foot off the gas, so it's the crunch time of the season and this is where every point matters. So yeah, try and look forward and keep pushing every day, to be honest, have good performances at the weekend like that.
On the team level, Paz talked about it the last couple of weeks of having a group that needs hunger, and wants to. They're empty. They want to fill, right? When you look at that, how do you motivate the team? How do you get the team to want that hunger, and crave the opportunity to fight for games and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think firstly you can lead by your actions. That's probably the most important thing, because if you're one of the guys in the locker room and you're talking and you're telling people what to do but you can't do your job yourself, it's not really going to carry too much weight. So you got to make sure you're doing all the right things yourself, and then at that point you can sort of help your teammates and try and I'm pretty vocal on the pitch, so I like to help the boys out. I feel like, you know, there's problems to be solved, you need to talk about it, so information is important. Try and lead by example. I'm one of the older players and more experienced. I've been in the league, I know how it works, I know how to win games in this league, so I need to help the boys who are a little bit younger and need a little bit more guidance in that area.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you, Charlie, about that free kick. Right, It's a little favor to Remy's side there. You saw a little miscommunication, the wall. What were you seeing on that free kick?
Yeah, obviously for a left footer it's a little bit of a different angle. I can sort of bend it around the wall and into that near post. Yeah, so I'm normally the #1 free kick taker, so coaches wanted me to take it. I've been practicing them every week, so felt confident. Obviously Remy got fouled, he wanted it, but he's not always taking penalties, so you know, you have the people on the board that train it the most, and you get the best outcome.
Do you remember the free kick you scored? Well, the free kick we thought you scored in Oakland. Remember the one from long range that I think actually,
was that El Paso?
Was it El Paso?
Yeah,
the one
cup.
that they gave to DJ?
Yeah, that was El Paso. Yeah, I remember that one because I was fighting for it to be my goal. I thought it went over the line, but
they said
yeah,
it didn't.
yeah, I know. We joked about it after with the boys and that. Yeah, it was pretty similar. Aim it, try and get in the top corner. That was a little bit further out and on the other side. So yeah, I'm enjoying taking free kicks.
When you look at the last month of the season, you've got a tough road ahead. You play New Mexico here tonight, and then the rest of the way. 2 trips to Eastern Conference teams, a team in San Antonio. How important is it during this next month to go game by game and not get caught up in the playoffs and the table and stuff like that, but just say doing your job?
Yeah. I think you don't want to look too far ahead and sort of stay where your feet are. Stick to being more outcome driven rather than sort of external factors, and if you start looking ahead and stuff like that, you're going to get distracted and your mind's going to wander away from the things that are important. So yeah, just daily stick with your routine, your preparation, sleeping, eating and hydrating is some of the most important things for a football player.
What's the ceiling for this Phoenix Rising team in your mind?
Yeah, talent-wise, it's very high, but we haven't sort of stuck a run of games together throughout the year, so now's the right time, and I don't see why we can't. That's the good thing about football, you've always got another opportunity around the corner, but at the same time you can't always think that because you're going to let things fall out your grasp. So yeah, we're definitely ready. I think we've added a few new players to the team, which is nice, more strength and depth, and it also keeps people on their toes and keeps everyone pushing, fighting for their own spot. So there's competition within, and then there's also competition as a team, so that should be healthy.
Which of those new players, and obviously you'll say all of them, but which of those new players has maybe stuck out to you the most, whether it be skill set or even just from a personality perspective, players that you've seen added into this Phoenix Rising team this year?
Yeah, I think recently we've added Rafa to the back line. Played at such a high level in the MLS and the Bundesliga, so everyone should sort of be looking at him and trying to see